Every one of my records means something. The label, the producer, the year it was made.
Make sure you have the record player on at night.
Bad luck streak and dance in school, down on my knees in pain. Bad luck streak and dance in school.
All right. Welcome to the Record Night Podcast. I'm Collin. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want you to take yourself back to the year 2000. What was going on back then? Well, I was 8 years old. Bill Clinton was the president. The WCW was still in existence. The Millennium Force opened at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And dial-up internet was still a thing. Why am I talking about all this? Well, the next 2 episodes of the Record Night Podcast are going to feature albums from the year 2000. The first of which you already know because it's in the title of the video, or however you're consuming this podcast. It's Life Will Kill You by Warren Zevon. This album came out originally, although not on vinyl, on January 25th of the year 2000. And the title and subject material of this album, as well as the title and subject material of his next record, are interesting in hindsight because they ended up being a bit of a premonition. 4 years after the release of this album, Warren Zevon would in fact be dead. So life did kill him, or mesothelioma to be a little bit more specific. And with that, I will throw it over to the panel, if you will. I'm joined by Jake and Joe, as per usual, but we've got a guest on this week's show. He's been on the show before. It's Pat St. John. Okay, so Pat has been on the show a couple of times. You were on. You brought the first time you were on. You brought Radiohead in Rainbows, and then more recently you brought Ghost. So we're happy to have you back. So if you're familiar with those previous episodes, Pat, you do some work. Well, tell us what you do, because you've been doing some stuff recently.
Yeah, so I'm a audio engineer, I guess, in training, but I mean, I am an audio engineer. I do studio work. I have worked in live music too, but not currently, obviously, because I don't think anybody really is. But yeah, I've been in school. I'm about to graduate from Calderón Community College with my degree in recording arts and technology. It's fun. I get to hang out in studios all day, get to record awesome musicians. I've worked with a bunch of great musicians, and recording is great. It's such an art, and not everyone appreciates how much goes into the recording process until you're actually on that side of it, and it's incredible. It makes me appreciate great albums even more, because most great albums are well recorded, they're well produced, and they're well mixed, and it really makes me appreciate those sides of these records more. And so it's fun, and it's nice being able to provide my perspective of these albums that we listen to when I'm on. I feel like I like that perspective because you guys don't know as much about recording as I do.
Sure.
So it's cool. It's cool being able to fill in some of those gaps that Right. Some cool recording or production things that you guys may not even know about. So it's cool. It's fun. And like I could just talk about recording all day, and it's great.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we like to have you on. So normally what we do if we have a guest on the show is they'll bring a record, and that is the case. We're going to record 2 episodes tonight. So I think the fun aspect of this first one is before we get to Pat's record, we're going to subject him to a record that I've chosen. In this case. So, yeah, it'll be a little bit different. And I didn't know that you had any familiarity with Warren Zevon, really, but before we started the podcast, you were mentioning one of the songs off this record.
Yeah, which is like a top 10 favorite Zevon song of mine. But I know about this from my brother.
Sure.
We used to listen to Warren Zevon in the car all the time. And then
I
know from you, talking to you and my brother, and even like Pete, we used to talk about Warren Zevon and stuff. Sure. So, I'm very familiar with him because I know a lot of people in my life are big fans of Warren Zevon, so.
Excellent. So like I was mentioning kind of when we started here, this was an interesting album for This was Zevon's first album in 5 years. His previous one was from 1995, Mutineer, and his record label went belly up. So he was without a label, and it's really cool because it kind of, on Warren Zevon's debut in 1976, Jackson Browne is the guy who got him the record deal. And we kind of come full circle with this one. Jackson Browne got him this record deal as well. Oh, nice. So Zevon kind of played some songs that he was working on for Jackson. And so Jackson Browne called up Danny Goldberg, who was starting the Artemis record label. And they added Warren Zevon, and this record came to be. So it's really interesting in hindsight because again, let me mention. So this record, like I said, it's called "Life Will Kill Ya." This is Zevon's albums kind of became premonitions for his impending doom. There are a couple songs that get like eerily like specific about visiting the doctor and being told that you're ill and all that sort of stuff. So let's go to the collection here.
Big old box of records. Your collection's getting big, man.
Not compared to other people.
Oh well, I mean, you just had.
Well, that girl and I talked to the record night guys, Chris and Ryan, and they each have like over 200. So I'm way behind. But this is Warren Zevon's next record after this one from 2002. My Ride's Here, and my Ride's Here is like
death.
It's a great
title track.
My Ride's Here. It really is, yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite Zevon songs.
So I personally disagree with it. I think he had some other records that were really good. I think Mr. Bad Example was great. But somebody like Rolling Stone, I think, or somebody called this Warren Zevon's best work since Excitable Boy, all the way back from 1978. So
wow.
Yeah, this was cool. Zevon was a lot different in his later career. He was definitely a lot more folk. He was kind of like a down and out like rock star in his early days, but then like somewhere along the line, and then he had the Virgin record days, but somewhere along the line he just kind of became more of a folk artist, and that's what this record is. So Jake and Joe, do you have any familiarity with this album that you're aware
of? Run down the track listings.
So I Was in the House When the House Burned Down is track 1. Life Will Kill Ya, title track is number 2. Porcelain Monkey.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
As Pat mentioned, for my next trick, I'll Need a Volunteer.
I know that one.
I'll Slow You Down. Then the final song on side A is Hostajo, which I'm excited to get to that one. It's a very touching song about sadomasochism. Then side B, Dirty Little Religion, Back in the High Life Again, which is that's why I wanted you to. I'm drinking the High Life.
Miller High Life, ladies and gentlemen.
Not a sponsor.
They should be. I drink it a lot.
Yeah.
The Back in the High Life Again is a Steve Winwood cover. It was a hit for Steve Winwood. Nice. So Warren Zevon covers that. Then Fistful of Rain, Ourselves to Know, and Don't Let Us Get Sick.
Wow.
Okay, so I know like maybe 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
On the A side.
Yeah, same.
So just a quick note on the High Life again, even though they're not a sponsor. The last time I purchased this beer, personally, the cashier like rang it up or whatever, and she goes, "Man, that is some cheap beer."
I looked at the thing; it was like the big pack. I was like expecting to pay like $6 for it. Started 6-pack. It was like $9 for like 12 beers or however the fuck many are in there.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's
Jesus.
shocking. That's why I drink it.
But hey,
you gotta pull some strings to get a sponsorship.
Your money's worth.
Right,
You gotta do.
right.
get your bang for your
Contact some
buck.
people.
Great price, great taste. Miller High Life, not sponsored by the record.
Okay, so
Anyway.
yeah. So yeah. Oh, okay. The other cool connection with this record, the first time Pat was on, like we mentioned, he brought Radiohead, and this album by Warren Zevon was produced by Paul Q. Kolderie and Sean Slade, who produced. Well, I don't know about Sean Slade. He's typically associated with Paul Q. Kolderie, but anyway, Paul Q. Kolderie at least produced Pablo Honey from Radiohead back in 1993.
Yeah. I've heard of Sean Slade before. He's a well-known producer. They both are. And Pablo Honey was a big deal, even though that's considered like their worst album. Like that's a big album.
Is that the one you were saying they were more like poppy, like they were
more like grungy almost? So
Oh,
it was like they kind of changed their style after.
Okay.
that
And it was 93, so I mean it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
but like
makes a lot of
that
sense.
album was still a huge album. So like they're the production is probably gonna be pretty good. Like I said, I haven't listened to this full album, but
Yeah,
these are 2 pretty well-known, well-respected producers.
yeah. This is a cool one. Warren Zevon is famous. Let me run through some of the people that appeared on his albums over the years. Members of the Eagles, Jackson Brown, Neil Young, Bob Dylan. The list goes on and on.
Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. That's Werewolves of London is Mick Fleetwood.
I always
and
thought
John
that was
McVie.
so interesting about Warren Zevon because I didn't like. I don't hear a lot of his. I mean, besides Werewolves of London, like I don't hear much of him on the radio.
Right.
So that he had like this relationship with so many like prolific artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that it tells you right away. Like okay, there's something there.
He's
like,
kind of like an artist. Like you know how
Yeah,
there's
like
like
your
there's like
artist.
rappers.
Yeah, exactly.
That like he he's one of those people that is so influential, but people don't know him. There's bands of every generation and artists of every generation that are so influential, but they never got the they never got
The
super
recognition,
famous or recognition. Yeah, every generation, and I always think about Warren Zevon. I always think about like who are the artists of like this generation that I know, like who are the not well known artists that are gonna influence so many other people. You know,
Yeah, that's
But,
going to be
He was
interesting.
hugely influential. You know, with especially his songwriting. It's like that's his biggest point is that he's a fantastic songwriter.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, although he had all these like major guests appear on his records, after Excitable Boy, he was never commercially successful.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you mentioned about the production of this record is that there's not a whole lot. There's very little special appearances or anything. They decided, well, like it's not really helping your record sales to add like these big names to it. So let's just do. He recorded most of this. I think this was recorded kind of like over years. He eventually had like a home studio, and this is from the year 2000. So I mean, like that, more and more people were kind of doing that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more of a, I don't know. That's kind of what gives it more. Yeah, it gives it its more like folky quality, and I guess we'll hear that when we listen to it. So.
This around this time is when Pro Tools started to become really popular, and that revolutionized home studios.
Yeah.
And once Pro Tools, that like late 90s to early 2000s is when Pro Tools, like everyone started using Pro Tools. So that's when a lot of people started just doing recordings in their house. Even, bigger artists at that point, like now everybody does it, but everybody started to have home studios.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I think we should get this puppy rolling unless anybody speak now or forever hold your peace. All right.
Cool.
I can hold my peace. I don't know if I'll be able to hold my bladder, but
I've already got it.
I was in the house when the house burned down. I met the man with the 40 crown. I helped him carry his cross through town. I was in the house
yeah.
Life will kill you. That's what I said. Life will kill you. And then you'll be dead. Life will find you. Wherever you go. Requiesce, happy pace, that's all she wrote. From the President of the United States to the lowliest rock and roll star. The doctor is in, and he'll see you now. He don't care who you are. Maybe you'll go to heaven, see Uncle Al and Uncle Lou. Maybe you'll be reincarnated. Maybe that stuff's true. Maybe if you were good, you'll come back as someone nice. And maybe if you were bad, you'll have to pay the price.
I like the bookended just piano.
Yeah.
Ooh, left
That
it.
was a short one, too.
All right.
He was an accident waiting to happen. Most accidents happen at home. If shaking, shouting, and going away. That's how he earned his real soul, okay. And he threw it all away for a porcelain monkey. He threw it away for a porcelain monkey. Gave it all up for a figurine. He traded it in for a night in Las Vegas. And his face on velveteen.
That song makes so much more sense that you said it was about Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
It was a great song.
I can saw a woman in two, but you won't wanna look in the box when I'm through. I can make disappear from my next trick. I'll need a volunteer. It's lonely up here when the tricks have been played and the spotlight is faded and the plans that we made have fallen apart. It's lonely I'll just hold you up when I fall behind. I'll just throw your schedule off so you get going if you're so inclined. Go on without me, I'll just slow you down. Go on, go on. I can see me bound and gay, dragged behind the clown mobile. You can treat me like a dog if you make me feel what others feel. And this loneliness unbearable, and it all goes by so slow. I will stand in line for sacrifice for the shamefaced love of the ugly vice. I pay the price to see how far you'll go. Let me be your prisoner, let me be your hostage. Oh.
So that's the end of side A of Life Will Kill You by Warren Zevon. This is if you're not well versed in Warren Zevon, this could be what do you guys think so far?
This is my favorite one so far.
Oh wow, okay.
Wow. That's good. I liked it. I have a few.
Well, let me real quick, just because let's cut real quick with that last song, Hostage Joe. When he would play that song live, he had a funny introduction to it, where he called it the sequel to Poor Poor Pitiful Me. Now, if you'll recall, at the end of Poor Poor Pitiful Me, what does it go? I met a girl at the Rainbow Bar. She asked me if I'd beat her. She took me back to the Hyatt House. I don't want to talk about it. And then he wrote this song. So let's cut real quick to him introducing this song, playing it live.
I want to give you just a quick glimpse behind the scenes tonight. My stagecraft, as it were. I play more or less. There are only so many songs of mine that I can play. It doesn't really make sense for me to play an evening of, the songs of Eric Clapton. There are only so many songs I can play, and there are really only so many jokes I can think of a year, and so many ways to introduce the songs that bear anything resembling the truth. And consequently, people, believe it or not, there are strange people who come to many shows, and even those that don't, now disseminate information on the internet in such a way that everybody gets to know how the movie comes out before they buy the ticket anyway. And to them, I can only say, you can come to the golf course every day, but I can't move the fucking holes. I worked up a little introduction to this last song, and it seemed, very mildly amusing, but also really quite accurate and kind of modest in an insincere sort of way. And it didn't contain like an oblique reference to the fact that this Poor Poor Pitiful Me was a hit many times in the United States. Something I felt that I should communicate to the audience if they were concerned about me, which they usually are. So what I said, the introduction to this song that I got in the habit of saying every night on the tour of the States for a couple of months, I would say, well, I've finally written a sequel to Poor Poor Pitiful Me. It took me 30 years, folks. But it does prove that I haven't grown or evolved musically or morally in all that time. And the audience would chuckle like that. It was okay. I thought it was suitable. Well, about a month ago, the New York Times viewed my show and said, Mr. Zevon, that's what the New York Times always called me. Mr. Zevon quips that he hasn't grown or evolved musically in 30 years. Truer words were never spoken. That's all right, I'm from Los Angeles. New York sucks.
So I saw a cool video. Well, it wasn't in that clip that I just showed, but he Poor Pitiful Me was like a very successful pop song, like several times. Like other people recorded it, Linda Ronstadt, Terry Clark, and he said, "Let's see him make a fucking pop song out of this." And then
They did.
Would play. Well, no, with
this
the, yeah,
one. No.
with this song. So yeah, I guess we can keep it rolling, but Jake, let me start with you as far as like any comments you have on the first side there.
Yeah, I mean, you know my proclivities. I like folk music, and this is definitely like more folk than what he has made in the past for sure.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed it so far. There was one clever line, something about like I'll take another vowel.
Oh yeah, maybe you should buy another vowel. You think you know me? Yeah, there's a lot of little clever. That song that was I'll just slow you down. I like the opening line. You know, I hate it when you stick your hand inside my head and switch all my priorities around. Like it's not like the wording's not like brilliant or anything, but just I don't know. It's a funny thing to say, I guess. Mm-hmm. Buy another vowel. It also features you think you're pretty tricky, but you're simply overbred.
Well, let me just throw something out there. I could be completely wrong, but if you notice, go up to the vowel line again.
Yeah.
So obviously those two lines don't rhyme, right?
You always say you know me somehow. I don't think you do. Maybe you should buy another vowel.
What's the vowels? A-E-I-O-U. That rhymes. I-O-U. I-O-U.
Ah. Wow.
I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe, but I think that's intentional.
That's interesting.
Anyways.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, that's kind of that's more the level he's on, you know.
That's why it wouldn't surprise me if that's true.
Right.
But I just noticed right away, like everything's rhyming, and that doesn't rhyme.
That because he is clever. He is always very clever with that stuff. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe. What do you think? You knew some of the songs on that side, right?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the opposite of Jake. I think I like more of the hard rocking Warren Zevon than this like folky. But I mean the message is still very witty, and it's still like, you know, Warren has a lot of witty, funny kind of. I guess that's where he's compared to
Randy Newman.
Randy Newman in that way, where they're kind of tongue in cheek. Lyrists.
Yeah. I read an interview that from 2000 when this record came out, and he kind of addressed him being compared to Randy Newman, and he seemed a little irritated about that comparison because Randy Newman like explains his songs like a lot. Like he'll tell you exactly what the song's about and stuff, and Warren seemed kind of turned off by that. Like, well, I don't know. Like, I just write these songs. I don't know where they come from. If it ends up being dark or weird, that's what it is. I don't know. But like, he seemed irritated at. I think what he said is Randy Newman seems to know so much about how people should interpret his songs or whatever, and I think that just goes back to this. We talk about it all the time, like explaining the lyrics and stuff versus just letting them exist and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that. But Pat, what do you think?
It was good. I liked it. Like I said, I was familiar with a few of the songs, but there was a couple weird things. I'm not sure if you guys noticed. Like the vocals on every track sound different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like they were recorded all with like different microphones in a different place.
Well, that's
you know
what
I mean.
That's what I was talking about. Like it being recorded over time, not necessarily all at once.
And I thought about that when I wrote that down, and it sounded like the first two tracks are kind of have like similar. Like you said when he was listening to it, it sounds like he's like holding his nose. It's very nasally. And then like
Life Will Kill
by
You,
the third track, it's a completely different vocal style. And then the I think it was the last one. I don't know. It was either the fourth or fifth track where it sounded more like old Warren Zevon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Where it felt like every song kind of was recorded in a different place and everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was recorded over time, which is interesting.
I think that was literally the case.
And then, so did he know at this point that he had cancer?
No.
It's interesting because he's right. His songs are like someone, or like the lyrics are like someone who knows they're about to die. You know, it's like like there's so many examples in these lyrics.
Yeah, he didn't know yet, and he
which
didn't know for his next record
crazy
either.
because so many of these lyrics are sound like somebody who's at the end of their life. It's
Yeah, that context, and we've listened to a few records like that, and actually we won't reveal it, but there's actually kind of it's not as immediate, but I think there's a little bit of a similar kind of thread in the next record we're going to listen to.
I agree.
Yeah, and when we listened to Chris Cornell, that was another thing. Like hindsight really made his last record very interesting because he touches on
even a lot of these hip hop guys recently, like the that have passed away, like the Mac Millers and stuff like that. Like it's creepy. It's kind of creepy listening to like his
this album
swimming or something
feels
like
like somebody who knows that they're gonna die.
Yeah,
there's so many lyrics and so many examples, and even I'm trying to think what song it was. It was I think it was "I'll Slow You Down," where it sounds like it's kind of a retrospective on his career, where he's talking about like the down and out rock. It's like from the
that's in Life Will Kill You.
Life Will Kill You, yeah.
From the president of the United States to the lowliest rock and roll star.
And it kind of sounds like he's talking. In a way, it sounds like he's talking about himself.
Yeah.
Because he's been on the high,
right,
the high pedestal, and then he's not. He's had that like big album, and then he's kind of fallen off.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It was good. Again, it has a couple of those Warren Zevon, clever lines, and it was good. I liked it.
Yeah. As is the case with most records I listen to, I like side B better than side A, so I'm excited to flip it and get to the rest of it.
I'll make a dirty little convert out of you. I'll make a dirty little religion as a loving. I'll make a dirty little convert out of you. Dirty little religion. Dirty little religion.
Jake, you picked the best time to start drinking a high.
Yeah. We'll be back in the high life again. On the eyes that watched us once will smile and take us in. Back in the high life.
I'm not gonna do lyrics for the next one because I think I'll ruin. Yes.
What track is this?
Oh, I know this. This is a famous song. Such a famous
the opening
song.
line. Or it's not the opening line.
It's such a good song. I've heard.
I went to the doctor. I said I'm feeling kind of rough. Let me break it to you, son.
Your shit's fucked up.
I said my shit's fucked up. Well, I don't see how. He said the shit that used to work won't work now.
Based on this, a lot of people think he knew he was dying. He did not know.
That's crazy.
that is crazy.
It's his whole record. It's like this too, It's crazy.
Yeah, my shit's fucked up. It has to happen to the best of us. Rich folks suffer like the rest of us. It'll happen to you. You can dream the American dream, but you sleep with all the lights on and wake up with a scream. You can hope against hope that nothing will change. Grab a hold of that fistful of rain in your grasp has exceeded your reach, and you put all your faith in a figure of speech.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
Heard all the answers, but the questions remain.
It still keeps going.
Grab a hold of that fistful of rain.
That's really good.
Wow. We'll talk about that one for sure.
Yeah.
That's very profound.
I wrote the first couple lines of the song I wrote down. Dude, like the first couple lines are such a great songwriter.
He really is.
We left Constantinople in 1099 to restore the one true cross was in this heart of mine, to bring it to Jerusalem and then sail home to Rhodes. We took that holy ride ourselves to know. Don't let us get sick, don't let us get old, don't let us get stupid, alright. Just make us be brave and make us play nice. Let us be together tonight. The moon has a face and it smiles on the lake and causes the ripples in time. Lucky to be here with someone I like, who maketh my spirit to shine. Don't let us get sick, don't let us get old, don't let us get stupid, alright. Just make us be brave, make us play nice, let us be together tonight.
I want to apologize to the listeners. I've got something in my eye. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a very
good
touching song.
Yeah,
from
that
That was my favorite song on the record.
There's a very somber end to that record.
Yeah.
So let me say right away, I just showed Joe a note that I wrote, and it was about like the writing in this song, and I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
In this chorus here, don't let us get sick, don't let us get old, don't let us get stupid. Just make us be brave and make us play nice and let us be together tonight. I don't know why it came to me, but I figured, like, what if you switched make us and let us? Don't make us get sick, don't make us get old, don't make us get stupid. Just let us be brave. Just let us play nice and make us be together tonight. I don't think that's an accident. I really don't. I think he's that good of a writer. Because I don't think I would have picked up on that. Because make us be brave. Make us.
Right.
Those are the choices you make in life.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being nice to one another, that's a choice you make in life. So I wonder what he's saying by that. Maybe that's just intentional. That's what he is saying. That, like, it's your choice to do those things and be grateful that God has put you. Just like he says, I'm grateful to be around all these people that make my spirit shine. You know what I mean? All I ask is that you put me around the people that do that for me in my life. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Yeah. There's you could pick out a lot of material on this record, but there's like 3 explicit songs: "Life Will Kill Ya," "My Shit's Fucked Up," and this one that are like kind of like shocking, like that the fact that he didn't know he was dying.
Yeah,
and he was dead.
Yeah, especially this song. Like, this song is incredible. That final track.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, like, is it one of those things, like, you know, like when there's an earthquake's about to happen and all the animals kind of like run and like hide before it hits?
It's like
It's like maybe he subconsciously knew he was dying and he put this record out, and then you said, so when did he find out like, how long did he have? I mean, you said he died 4 years after this, but when did he know he was sick? Like, how long did he have it before he died?
So I think he found out in 2003. So 3 years later. Now, he's probably sick at this time. You know what I mean? Because when let me throw to another clip because I'm aware of it, where he was on David Letterman and he knew he was dying and he talked about kind of what led up to it.
I guess a couple of months ago, we all learned that your life has changed radically, hasn't it?
You mean you heard about the flu?
Yeah, kind of about the flu.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
How did you learn about it, and what is it, and how have things been since?
What was the order of those questions again?
Entirely up to you. Any way you want to field them.
How did I learn about it?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me say that I might have made a tactical error in not going to a physician for 20 years.
I see. All right.
It was one of those phobias that really didn't pay off.
So what he says in that Letterman clip that I just showed is that he had a fear, like a phobia of doctors. So he says on Letterman, he goes, I may have made a slight tactical error in not going to a physician for 20 years. So by the time he went to a doctor, he was already it was so advanced that in the year 2000, when this was recorded, he probably was already, the like cancer was there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But maybe not as bad yet. But by the time he went to a doctor in 2003, they were like, oh, you're fucked.
Yeah, it could have been prevented if he would have went earlier.
Mesothelioma, though, how did he get mesothelioma?
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery, right? Because that's factory workers and stuff like who were exposed to that sort of stuff, and he was never that. But yeah, so it's a little bit mysterious, but
yeah, it's like what Joe was saying. It's almost like instinct, like when your time is almost up.
It has to be
like the body. The body knows, but the brain might.
Yeah, like you said, subconsciously, it's like it's insane. Like how
it is.
How he didn't know he was sick when he wrote this album. And there's so much about him. It seems like somebody who knows that they're about to die.
But maybe he also wrote it from a point where everyone's gonna die eventually.
Yeah.
And so once that happens, this album will kind of come to come to light,
Yeah.
Like artists do that. Artists kind of plan ahead.
Well,
with the music they put out.
Well, one of his quotes that he said was this was after he knew he was dying. He said, "I lived like Jim Morrison and got to live an extra 30 years." Jim Morrison died when he was 27.
Yep.
And Zevon was like that. When you look at his early career, like in the late 70s, early 80s,
Wasn't he like an alcoholic?
Yeah,
all
like
that?
a really intense. And it took a long time. He eventually did get sober, but it took a long time for him to get there. So. Yeah. So before we played the B-side, I said I liked the B-side better than the A-side. I feel like that was kind of how it went over in the room. And yeah, Jake, did you have anything else besides the last song? It started with Dirty Little Religion, then we had the Back in the High Life Steve Winwood cover.
Mm-hmm. That was great. Oh, for this last song, I liked the moon has a face.
Mm-hmm.
It smiles on the lake, and something about ripples in time.
Causes the ripples in time.
Because the moon causes the current.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I like the. It's just a small thing, but maketh my spirit to shine. It's just I don't know, like a little. He was a big like a scholar is not the right word, but he read a lot. You know what I mean? So like, big fan of Shakespeare and all that. So I assume that's kind of what influenced that.
Can we go to track 10? I think because
Fistful of Rain, yeah.
Track 10 was like a
the lyrics in this thing are like unbelievable. I think at least.
Yeah.
Especially like how they're still relevant.
Yeah.
Now.
Absolutely.
Just that we were talking about different points, but mine was that first line. That you can dream the American dream, but you sleep with the lights on and wake up with a scream.
Yeah.
That's like, I was like, whoa. Like, that's such a great line.
Yeah, let me shout out real quick. Warren Zevon, great songwriter. Let's shout out Jorge Calderón. Jorge Calderón.
On the bass.
Well, he also co-wrote the song, and he collaborated with Zevon throughout his career, like really all the way throughout his entire career. So, if we go back to Porcelain Monkey from the first side, Zevon is quoted saying like Jorge Calderón is the one who came up with all the clever there was a lot of Regal Sobriquet and Regicidal Friends. Like Jorge Calderón's the one coming up with those lines there.
Let's scroll down because there was a few more.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh yeah, right here. When your grasp has exceeded your reach, and you put all your faith in a figure of speech, You've heard all the answers, but the questions remain. Grab a hold of that fistful of rain. Now, this reminds me of a Brother Ali line. I don't remember what song it was from exactly. I just remember hearing this. It might have been off a feature or like a YouTube thing, but the line goes something like, "You can write those Facebook cliche posts over and over until life hits you in the face. You know, life be that way." He's talking about like we're taught like to hold on to like try to live our lives by these cliche points, but until you experience them, you don't really learn from them. You don't really understand them until you experience it. And then you say, okay, it's almost this weird, like, reverse thing. Like, in my youth, I remember just, like, looking at cliches and shit, being like, what do they mean? Like, what does this mean? Like, trying to almost apply the cliche to your life until you realize that, like, it's your life that applies to the cliche. I think that's what he means by grab a hold of that fistful of rain. Like, your experience is what you hold, like you're gonna remember and you're gonna hold on to, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, I think that ties into the next track as well. But when diamonds turn back into coal. Yeah, I just grab a hold of the fistful of rain. It's just
Right.
it's obviously you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just a
Right.
clever way of saying it. The harder you try to hold on to things, the more they slip through
And
your
then
fingers.
Right.
we were talking about this when we were listening to it, but the bass on this
Oh yeah.
song is just like, God, it's such a great groove to it.
Yeah.
A lot more instrumentation on this side. I know we had mentioned that, but it's very subdued in side A, and then
Yeah, very
a
stripped
lot
down
more
inside A.
instrumentation.
Yeah, we commented too that the next track as well, Ourselves to Know, and this one Springsteen-esque in like the gospel kind of
Yes.
element.
Yeah, I
The
wrote that too.
gospel, the organ. Isn't there like some type of piano or organ in this?
There's a backing like choir, or at least like four
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounded.
This reminds me of like something to be like on the Rising.
Yeah,
you
yes,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they both got. I mean, Springsteen and Zevon both became like religious, more so like in their later
Later years.
life. I would say, yeah. You know, so. I like that. Like one of the later verses. In a heart, there are windows and doors. You can let the light in. You can feel the wind blow. And even just the last line, where there's nothing to lose and nothing to gain. Grab a hold of that fistful of rain. You know.
Yeah. That's a good way to sum up the song. When there's nothing to lose and there's nothing to gain, grab a fistful of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Now, what Jake was talking about before, where like you have to take the journey yourself. That's Ourselves to Know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah, who uses Constantinople in a song? Like,
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah, and this you can always tell, like with especially in his later career, and really on his next record, My Rides Here, you can almost tell like what he was reading, like at the time, like they really influenced what he was writing, you know, like.
Yeah.
But it's like it seems like it has lines kind of about his career. Everyone got famous, everyone got rich, everyone went off the rails and ended in the ditch.
Or his friends.
Right.
I mean, he had a long career. He probably knew a lot of people who were, on top of the mountain, and then they just plummeted to, obscurity.
Right.
And he kind of did a little bit from it.
Oh,
Excitable
sure.
Boy, he was on top of the mountain. And then his next couple albums, he was, he was still putting out music. He was still famous, but he never reached those heights
And
Right.
again.
This is interesting too because like a lot of artists have songs about famous rock stars plummeting, but he lived it. I mean, he outlived a lot of those people, so
Yeah.
he watched it happen.
Yeah, back to that Jim
it's-
Morrison quote. you know?
Yeah, and this that's what's so interesting about this is that he lived all of this. This is his own experience.
Do you know how old he was at this time in 2000?
He was 53.
So by then, probably a lot of his friends had probably passed away.
Yeah, because a lot of those a lot of those ones from like the 70s and 80s, like they died young.
In their 40s and their
Yeah.
30s.
So he outlived a lot of them. So it makes it interesting because he not only did he experience it himself, but he experienced it with watching so many other people, his peers and everything.
I kind of like the line after, like he said, everyone went off the rails and ended the ditch, but we had to take that long, hard road to see where it would go. Like, it was still worth it, I feel like is what he's saying, to experience
and
it.
Even those people, I probably, if you could bring those people back to life, they would probably say, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like how the song changes at the end, like, where to you, now he starts talking to the listener. He, like, tells you about his, his pilgrimage.
That's another thing I got from, like, it's unbelievable that he didn't know he was dying. Because he was almost, like, giving his last, like a message, like his last, testament or whatever.
Yeah. Be loyal to the ones you leave with, is what he says, not live with. This is far better than the Andrew Combs episode where Genius had butchered the lyrics. These were mostly accurate.
That was the only one that was...
Yeah, be loyal to the ones you leave with, even if you fail. And be chivalrous to strangers you meet along the road. So.
Yeah. Again, like every song, like the lyrics, there's some great lyric or anything. Like it just shows how, even in 2000, how great Warren Zevon is as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. Life Will Kill You from Warren Zevon. Okay, so like as I alluded to at the beginning of this podcast, we're gonna record 2 episodes. So I think we should reveal the record that Pat has brought, our second album that was actually released today. We're recording this episode on October 24th, 2020. This record came out that Pat brought 20 years ago to the day.
Wow.
Yeah, 20th birthday for this record.
This is gonna get a big pop. I'm very excited about this.
Okay.
Do you guys have any guesses?
No, I don't know.
So
20 years ago today.
This is...
I kind of have a guess, but no, it couldn't have been 20 years ago.
Reveal?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I brought...
I knew it! I fucking knew it! That was my guess! Dude, I knew it. You want to know why? You want to know what gave it away?
Oh, this is going to be great.
You want to know what gave it away? Is because you mentioned people who lost their lives.
Yeah.
And it was an ode to people who lost their lives, and you mentioned Chris Cornell.
Yeah. Okay. So you made the connection.
Dude, I should have said something. I would have sounded so much smarter.
So yeah.
I knew it. I fucking knew it, dude.
So the album I chose is Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Came out 20 years ago this day, the day of recording.
Wow.
I'll talk more about even more reasons why I chose it when we record the next episode. But this is one I've actually been wanting to bring for a while.
Dude.
This is like a legendary album.
Yes. This is going to be awesome.
So we're going to wrap up this episode of the Record Night Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode where we're going to feature Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park.
How about that Record Night Podcast?